Okay, so double replay. Gonna be, looks like Juno, Ball, and Reinhardt. We'll do Audrey first. And we'll see it's gold. Juno Diva, looking for some tips on how to improve my gameplay for Juno and Diva. Around 2 hours a day. Short-term goals, get better, rank up to Plat. Highest I've been is Plat 4. Long-term goals, will be able to adjust to teams. I play duo with a friend, okay. And 78 hours, watch your videos and some years. I play and learn a lot. Thank you so much. Okay, let's take a look here. A couple games here. Junkertown won first out of the 2 games. Second game went fast. We failed to push the last little bit. Questions around positioning or if cart pushing at the end with failures due to fault of mine. Even if it was your fault, I think the way to look at things is it's never down to one mistake. Whether you win or lose a game, that's really never something that you need to worry about. You just focus on the consistent things that are happening over and over and over again. Don't really worry about that. Coliseo, how do I deal with dive tanks like Diva? Doom, in this case, it was Doom. That one might be worth looking at, actually. If there's time, Blizzard World, no specific questions, the first you didn't cover now. So let's actually start with Coliseo, because knowing whether you should have pushed cart for the last little bit is not a consistent question, but knowing how to play around dive tanks is. So let's actually get this pulled up here really fast. Do this here. Bam. Let's change off full screen so I can tab around. Graham, hi kitty. My cat is freaking out. And let's take a look here. Ugh. All right. Juno, gold Juno. What I would challenge you to do, Audrey, is before this review starts, pause the review and answer the question as awkwardly as you possibly can, because you're talking to yourself. What is Juno uniquely strong at? Like, what makes Juno compared to other supports uniquely strong? All right, I'm going to try to answer that question for you as best I can. And what we do is we take that answer and we try to leverage that answer. So first off, let's find what range is she effective at. Well, see, she's like the mid-range support, mid to long range. She's got a little bit more fall off than she used to, so that's always really nice. But she's really good at area of effect value and consistent pressure. So one of the things that Juno does is she does a consistent little chip damage, consistent little chip healing. Torpedoes obviously are a relatively longer cooldown, but eventually you get a perk that reduces that cooldown the more people that you hit. And there's ways of layering your abilities by just consistently existing and applying pressure. Juno can have burst value with a big torpedoes and sometimes with a big speed ring. But very rarely do you apply like a big anti-nade or a 2-tap headshot with Kiriko or a big amp speed, big boop with Lucio, or a big whip shot with Brig. A lot of your cooldowns can provide value, but it's more about providing value frequently and often. So the way to get value with Juno most of the time is to get value early and often. It's to take a decent off angle or a good sight line to land a couple of shots, to get a decent 2 or 3 man torpedo, and then to land a speed ring when your team is fighting, and then to keep healing, and then to keep shooting, and keep healing, and keep shooting. Over and over and over and over and over again. It's to be able to do little good decisions frequently. In many ways, she's a lot like Mercy with a gun, where Mercy doesn't have burst of value either, outside of res, I suppose. But instead of Mercy, where it's just healing and damage boosting and over and over and over again, with Juno, it's kind of like that, but it's also cooldowns and abilities as well, and doing a lot of those consistently. So we're going to take a look here, and we'll talk a little bit of the dive tanks once we actually see more of your gameplay first. So before we get into the dive tank matchups, I'm just going to kind of let it play for a second here. First little tip first is you absolutely need to be speed ringing your team out of spawn. You'll have it by the time that you need it, but that's one of the biggest benefits of using Juno is helping your team rotate out of choke, out of point faster. It's basically always something you should be doing on every map and every game without exception. Use your speed. Help your team get to spawn faster. Doing some healing, this is fine. Speed boost is fine here. No, I actually like the early speed boost. I think people underestimate what speed boost can do in terms of value. If somebody is currently fighting something, 9 times out of 10, that's fine to speed boost. Because not only do they get the speed boost, but also you can get the speed boost so you can utilize that to take a different angle and shoot different people. And the question is, what does speed boost do? And the simplest way of answering it is it does everything. It allows your Reinhardt to walk forward and swing more. It allows your Reinhardt to back up. It allows him to dodge shots. It allows him to avoid damage and to do damage. It allows him to move from point to point if he wants to, or even if he's standing still, he's able to do what he wants to do more effectively. So the question is not about what does speed ring do, it more along the lines of when is it not useful, when do you not want to use it. And really, those 1 times out of 10 are like maybe if the fight hasn't quite started yet, or maybe if your Widowmaker is dueling another Widowmaker, maybe that doesn't really affect the speed because it isn't all that useful there. But in this situation, this is a fine speed boost. My problem with this speed boost is that it doesn't actually hit the people that are going to use it the most. So speed boosting a Kiriko soldier is fine. Like if they're on, like, let's say they're rotating on an angle and you speed boosted them over here, and that would be fine, right? But you were clearly intending to go for your Reinhardt here, and you just aimed it poorly. And that's something that you really cannot afford to do. So I want you to use your speed ring as soon as you see an opportunity for somebody to fight, tank or no tank, but you actually need to actually put your crosshair where you want it to be, because this is exactly where it's not going to reach your Rein. Good heal. Now let's talk about torpedoes. Torpedoes is one of the most important cooldowns that you have. I mean, all of your cooldowns are really important, but you cannot use torpedoes effectively usually without a good position. So one of the things that we need when you use torpedoes, almost always, is an off angle. And what off angle means is where the majority of your team is applying pressure, we're going to tuck you off just a little bit to the side. Now, crucially, you may understand that concept, but go, well, what if there's a Tracer here or the Doomfister? And yeah, in that instance with Juno, you don't want to be off angling into somebody who's going to kill you, unless they're low, right? However, if you look here, you rotate here, you immediately see what I'm talking about with torpedoes, where this angle here, torpedoes, would have hit at least 2 of your teammates, at least 2 of the enemy teammates, and just would have required you moving a little bit off to the side. Alternatively, if you really don't have a good angle in terms of, okay, like I can't really go to the side, one of the options that Juno has to create an angle is to go up. With your double jump and even with your glide boost, you can actually go up and create a slightly different angle that gives you better vision for torpedoes instead. Now, there's always risk. Every 1 out of 100 times you might get your head blown off, but that's going to be very, very rare. And that pressure that you have from your torpedoes, including the healing, is going to be so incredibly important every time you use it. So, a couple mistakes here. I know this is a little bit overwhelming right now, but I want to look for a little off angle. Speed boost the target that you actually want to speed boost out of spawn, and look for angles for torpedoes either sideways or vertically. Now, what we'll do here at the end is, as all this information is rushing by your ears, we will simplify this at the end of the review, and I'll give you my prioritized list of things that I want you to focus on one at a time. So for now, I'm just kind of throwing all this information at the end, but as we go along, not only would the review simplify, but we'll also be able to prioritize what we need to do. So like right now, you're not taking an angle to do any damage. See, the thing with Juno, right, we talked about consistent pressure, both damage and healing. Right now, if nobody's in desperate need of healing, you're not doing anything, and that's a huge problem. Overwatch supports, with the exception of Mercy to an extent, who compensates with damage boost, are designed to do damage at all times, almost without exception. Doesn't mean that's always damage is their number 1 priority, but they, at any point in time, need to be in a position to where they can do damage. You are not in a position to do damage right now, which means that Butter over here, what a silly name for a player, I wonder who that is not really going to be able to consistently win this trade, because the 1 support, 2 supports are either doing damage or indirect damage through damage boost, and you are not participating, which means that this guy's going to lose the trade. He needs that little bit of chip damage, even if it's 50, 60. I know Juno doesn't have high damage, but she has consistent damage, and that damage is going to make him back up, which then, when we talk about dealing with dive tanks, one of the first fundamentals we need to do is that you need to be looking for a safe sightline with a little bit of distance to chip at them. Do a little bit of chip damage here and there. Know where they're coming from. Help your team fight them off before they become a huge problem. And so here, you're essentially locking yourself into healing only, even, no matter how unnecessary your team is in terms of the healing. That's a good speed ring, by the way, but it's the same problem. The idea was very good. You get very, very good. You get credit for trying, because legitimately that is how you're going to get better, so that's okay. But yeah, the big thing here is that you're kind of a spectator to the fight, praying that your team is going to do enough damage, and you're not really helping your team do that. Okay, so now is as good time as ever to answer the question, how do you deal with dive tanks? You want to know how you deal with dive tanks? This is how you deal with dive tanks, right here. You run away. You run away and you shoot them. You run away and you shoot them. My only criticism here is that you probably should have used cover as quickly as you can, because cover is even more important than distance a lot of the time. So as soon as you get to here, just disengage. But you shot him, you ran away from him, and you rotated away. That's how Juno beats dive tanks. And if you use your speed ring, if you use your double jump, if you use your shift, if you use even your ultimate, you're going to be able to live versus dive tanks a lot of the time. Now, not always. You don't have a big burst of mobility. So one of Juno's crucial things for living versus dive heroes is you cannot be surprised. You don't have a Kiriko Suzu or a teleport or a sleep dart or a nade. A lot of your ability to live them is more of a preparing in advance and reacting. Like if you think about how did you live versus this Doomfist, it's because you saw him being rezzed. It wasn't a surprise. If he caught you off guard, he would have killed you. But you realize, oh no, double jump, shift, and you're able to get the timing just right because you actually saw the problem before it was a problem. And that's really important. By the way, nice speed ring here. Perfectly placed. You get the value as well. Torpedoes were pretty good as well because you had a big old sight line trying to get out. That was fine. It was good. One of the things I think a lot of supports misunderstand is they think that if as long as they're safe, they can win fights because they'll be able to effectively support their team. But what they don't understand is that you are supposed to be bait sometimes. Sometimes it is your job to get dove and then not die to that dive as best as you possibly can. Because look at what happens while this Doomfist is chasing you around the map, while the Mercy was in a completely awkward position trying to get a res off, right? The Genji dies. The Ana dies. The Hanzo dies. Your team is able to push their advantage consistently because you're running around with a dive tank strapped to your butt, right? That's what we want. And when you have characters like Juno that have mobility and can survive, it's really your responsibility to try and take care of yourself and on your own. Not completely on your own necessarily, but as much as you possibly can on your own. Because that frees up your team to do a lot of other things by themselves. So your ability to disengage that duel, to run away using Juno's abilities effectively, very effectively, I might add. You use both double jump, shift, and speed boost very well. That's exactly why you guys consistently and confidently won the rest of this fight. You did your job. And that's why supports have mobility. It's not just to go for more aggressive things, it's also to live aggression from the enemy team. It's that double-sided nuance, that double-edged sword that's so important to get right with Juno. Now, you're thinking aggressive. And in fact, I would have kept going with my glide boost here. Use the speed ring on your team, which, by the way, you actually hit correctly this time. Nicely done. And go in. You don't need two on cart here. You already have one on cart. You be the person that walks forward here. If somebody else is on cart, you can look forward to take space elsewhere. And you're like, well, isn't that too far forward? No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. If you have one of your cooldowns, whether that's speed boost or glide boost that allows you to disengage, you can follow aggression here. You could glide all the way over here, hold this angle here, and help your team damage and heal, right? And then disengage appropriately. It's about limit testing cautiously to help support your team without just standing AFK and cart. You should be following your team's aggression. Even your stupid Reinhardt, I mean, gee, who plays Reinhardt like that nowadays? And it should not be the other way around. Good. Rotate away from threats. Not quite fast enough. Good idea, but not quite fast enough. At that point in time, you guys had already lost because, frankly, the reason that you lost, I won't put all the blame on you, of course, but as this Hanzo gets a pick, it's really important that these guys are supported so that maybe we can get a trade in response. We just don't get the trade, right? We could have used your damage there. We could have used a little bit of your healing there. Maybe we get the kill on Doomfist and then maybe we can actually win this fight, but you're too busy spectating the fight, healing full HP targets. And like that's kind of the main problem here, is I need you involved in team fights. Like kind of what you did here was great, but we needed that one 8 seconds ago, right? We needed that way, way sooner than it actually was. Be involved, but I don't need you to be too front-liney, too close. Be involved, have a sight line, open an angle, but don't shove your face in. And I think a lot of people struggle with that nuance, right? They don't know how to get involved without running it right in the middle of the enemy team. Move forward, open up a sight line, and then that's it. Because that's the luxury of having a gun, is you don't have to be involved by walking directly into somebody's face like a Doomfist, for example. He doesn't have that option. Like right now, you're kind of involved. Now you got to make a decision here. Do I want to poke out these guys here? Do I want to speed ring my Reinhardt? Let's see what you do. I don't like these heal torpedoes. I really don't like these heal torpedoes. I don't mind using torpedoes for healing as a side benefit, but it needs to be both offensive and defensive. You have an exceptional angle here to not only heal, but also hit Doomfist, maybe even Honor or Genji, and you're not attempting to do that. I don't know which one is the cart or the horse, right? Is it the lack of angling, lack of sightlines that are causing you to hit poor torpedoes? Or is your idea of how to use torpedoes discouraging you from taking positions? Because it looks like here you're actually purposely backing up to try and get all your teammates in it. And that's like admirable, but it's not quite hitting how torpedoes are supposed to be used. Something to consider. Let's go. It's a fine speedering, it's a fine healing, but it's another one of those situations where if you don't do more damage and more healing from this angle here, more torpedo damage, then you're going to watch your teammates die. This is what we talked about in that first fight, where it's like, you know, what did I do wrong? Like, why? But the problem is that you were never involved for the first 5-10 seconds of the fight, really. And so that the enemy team just kind of runs you over. Prevention's worth a pound of cure. If a Mercy only heals, her team is going to struggle. And she's going to wonder what she did wrong. Okay, we're coming up on Juno ult here. We've got a speed boost. The key with Juno ult is to just use it. Make sure that it hits at least 1 or 2 members of your team. It could be just you playing your Ryan. It could be you and your Hanzo. Or you and your Ashe, rather. It could be you and your Curie Soldier. It just doesn't matter. Just use it. Is it a long duration? Yes, that's better. Better. You're doing 2 things right here. It could be a little bit better timed. Like I maybe wait half a second more for the fight to kind of break out. But it's better because number 1, you have an angle. And number 2, you have enemies. And number 1 really leads to number 2, correct? Why do you have an angle? Well, because you got a little bit of verticality and you used your glide boost. This is good. And that kind of damage panics the Ana. Ana panics. Ana's 1. Ana uses Nano and Genji. I think she used it before she wanted to. Ult is fine. The only criticism I have here is that you're panicking and you just need to speed boost away from Genji. Yeah, so you needed to focus on keeping your distance from threats. That's the big thing with Juno. Keep your distance. Use your speed ring. You just forgot about it. You could even use your speed ring and then use your torpedoes into your ult. One of the really cool combos that you can do is speed ring, ult, torpedoes, because then you have a damage boosted torpedoes. But to be honest with you, this is fine. And I think this is going to actually hit your Ryan as well. Yeah, see, it's going to help your Ryan still. So I'm very pleased that you used your ultimate there. Winning versus a Nano Blade is always a really good thing. So that's good. Again, you must use your speed ring to get out of spawn. You literally. Okay, let's actually look at the time here. This is less of a tip and more of a thing that you must use. So 3:34, you'd use your speed ring 14-second cooldown. So you'd be moving significantly faster. You should probably also be glide boosting onto spawn. Okay, there we go. Yeah. And you would have your speed ring again here, speed ring again to here. You would already be in the fight if you'd use your speed ring. Like literally would already be in the fight. You would save your Kiriko. Yeah, we got to use our cooldowns there. That's okay. That's an easy fix though. Use your speed ring when you're rotating from spawn, really without exception. Same thing with the torpedoes. Think about your angle. Think about your angle offensively. Don't back up, right? So think about your angle offensively. Let's keep going. My scroll wheel is bugging on here, so I can't get the play speed right. Okay, there we go. You're a spectator. You notice it again? I know you're scared of Doomfist, but you do have your speed ring. You do have a bit of an angle to the side here. Like, let's actually pause. Could you go with Torb May here? Yes, you could. Could you go a little bit off to the left here? Well, that would be risky maybe if you didn't have torpedoes. So yes, you could. But we do need to be waiting for a sightline at some point. Now, here's another question. Can you find another sightline that isn't contested? See, this is going to be your challenge. Where is my angle that I'm not going to get my head blown off? Maybe you're like, well, I'm scared to stack here. Okay. I'm scared to peek here. Okay, well, then where do you go? Seriously, think for a second. And you may not be able to come to the same answer as me. That's okay. But I want you to practice this decision because this is kind of the decision that you've been lacking with so far. I would say speed ring these guys just because rotate to here and see if we can get to here. You know? See if we can get to this angle here, get to a couple of Ryan and maybe shoot the Genji. Alternatively, you could stay here but be more aggressive with your weapon here. I mean, I don't think you have to do that rotation, but we just need you doing damage and doing healing. And right now, we're just not doing either of those things. Remember what we said with Juno. With Juno, it's rarely about the burst of value. It's about the consistent uptime of that value. And if that doesn't work, then you're going to be outvalued by other supports that have more bursts of their value. And so what's happened is you've played so defensively, you're not getting value early in fights. And so you're almost always entering fights at a small disadvantage. That Doomfist has 40 more HP than he should. Your Ryan has 50 less HP than he should. That Ana should have had that nade forced by a torpedo every other fight, but she hasn't, right? It's all those little things that are accumulating into massive disadvantages as the fight starts. I mean, look at the fight right now. You guys have the high ground here. And yet, if you look at the health of your teammates, your Kiriko's already dead, your Ryan's struggling, and the enemy team is basically full. I'm not saying this is all your fault by any means. It will never always be your fault. It's like what we talked about at the start of the review. But there are a lot of things here that you have control over that you're letting go of. Like even right now, we're trying to glide around and shoot. It's like you have that idea that that's something that I can do, but we're not seeing that from you consistently enough. There's a little bit of risk here, of course, but it's not as much as you'd think. It's really hard for anybody to reach you. It's really hard for anybody to punish you. If that Hanzo body shots you, the Ana shoots you even twice, you could just simply drop to cover here. So this is good use of cover here. In case if things get scary, I can just drop behind a wall. But now it's too late. And actually now we probably need to be playing a little bit further back because now we don't want to stagger. Yeah, so this is what's going to happen. Okay. We won't talk about speed ring from spawn, but it is something you need to be using as much as you possibly can. Torpedoes here are too early. Remember, we want to use torpedoes when the fight actually starts. So we're like, well, I don't know when that happens. You will know. You will know. When stuff starts to seriously happen, which might be... maybe even here, you know? That might have even been okay. We're too far. We're too far, and we're not using our speed ring here. So... this might be a situation when you move forward. Who could you speed ring right now? Who would be speed ring be useful for here? I think Torb. You know, he's moving. May help her get at the fight faster. Because remember, whoever it passes through it affects. And also you. I want you to move forward here, right? You could use your glide boost and then use your speed ring on your Ryan as well. It's good. But so far back. And so far back in this situation, even when you see the Genji rotate away, and by the time that you get there, it's too late to contribute. Basically, the main feedback I'm going to have for you is I want you to practice looking for angles where you can consistently do a little bit of chip damage and healing without getting too close. When you find those positions, I want you to use your speed ring, I want you to use your torpedoes, and I want you to use them early, and I want you to use them often. If you want to save your glide boost for when you get pressured so you can rotate away, that's totally fine by me. But I want you to be more actively involved in the fights, not by being necessarily closer all the time, but by at least having a sight line. That's going to be the key challenge for you. And then when these engagements start, like this, for example, I need to see you using things like your speed ring and your glide boost more, because this is very chaotic and stressful, and you're like, I don't know if I can get a good sightline here. Well, then you need to use your speed boost on somebody, and then you need to use your glide boost so that you can at least chip, heal, chip damage, whatever, and contribute. I would rather have you die 10% more, but have a more active involvement in the fight, because most of what you do is you do not get involved until somebody's critical, and then usually by the time that you get there, it's too late. You can kind of feel it, like you really feel like you've been disconnected very much so from the last 5 or 6 fights, and that's absolutely been the case. You could use your torpedoes here, big torpedoes. This was fine try. Okay, we'll watch one more fight, and then maybe we'll look at a couple of fights from Junkertown and see if there's a similar principle. But yeah, I think this dive tank is scaring you, but the dive tank actually really has good use of your ult. I really like how you use your ult consistently. Just use it. It's good. Maybe a little far, but it's fine. Probably could use it a little closer, but that's fine. But yeah, I think the dive tank has scared you so much, even though you've only died to him like 1 time or 2 times. Well, really, actually 0 times. Both times that you died to him, the fight was already lost anyway. You have refused to take any sort of space or any sort of engagement in the fight, and ironically allow the dive tank to kind of run over your team. I know I'm being tough here, but I think we could do a lot more with this character. It'd be a lot more involved in the fights, which, to be honest with you, is going to feel a lot more fun. Let's actually look at the... let's look at Junkertown a little bit here. Just a couple of fights here. We got a few more minutes, so we'll take that time before we jump over to the mysterious tank player with the silly name. All right. Let's do it. No dive tank here, so you're really going to need to find a good sightline, a good angle to contribute. Juno doesn't have a super long range gun, so you are going to need to find a little bit of an off angle here. Healing, 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 healing. Now, I'm not going to expect you to behave differently than you did in the previous game necessarily. This isn't a real conversation of me live coaching you and me expecting you to be better. Why did you follow my advice from the last game? Well, obviously, it's not going to work that way. However, what I'm going to have you do right now is challenge you to look at the situation and be like, where could I contribute damage safely with the information that I have? It's the same goal, right? Where can I contribute damage safely with the information that I have? Like right now, I've got a little bit of a sight line on my team, a good sight line on my team, but I don't really have good sight lines on the enemies. So I see the Genji there. I have my speed boost, I have my torpedoes, I have my glide boost. Where could I be? You tell me. Nice torpedoes. I think that your first obvious answer is if as soon as you possibly can get to here, or as soon as you can even get to here, saving your glide boost just in case Genji comes after you. We need to start contributing here. Now I know, oh, it feels a little bit close. Yeah, but imagine what you could do with torpedoes there. Imagine what you could do with speed ring there. Imagine what you could do with 0 heal fall off and baiting yourself to get dove by Genji and then just dashing away immediately afterwards if you're quick enough. The problem is what risk is good to take when you can respond accordingly. All risk is not bad. The safest way to live is to stay in spawn. So what risk provides an equivalent reward consistently? And I wanna when I say I don't just want, let's kind of frame my torpedo feedback in 2 ways. I want you to use your torpedoes when you have a good angle. And I don't want you to torpedo your team exclusively. The reason why this is bad is because torpedo in many ways is actually lower healing per second unless there's 2 targets that need health. So in this situation, technically it's slightly higher healing per second, right? Because you hit 2 targets. But reality is that you could have just used your gun on one of those targets. Kiriko gets the other. And because they're not currently fighting right now, you wouldn't have had to use a 10 or 11 second cooldown on something that your gun could have handled in literally half of a second. It's not that it doesn't do anything, it's that it's too important elsewhere. Like right now, where should we be and what should we be doing with our torpedoes? Well, it's the same thing. Hop up here, speed ring, your Genji, and then torpedoes, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, even if it hits a shield, very, very good. But we don't have it. Now, oh, this is good. This is good. Use those torpedoes. Use that speed ring even. Yes, now torpedoes. Okay, the only problem is that we didn't use the torpedoes when we had the angle. We accidentally fell. And then because we didn't get there soon enough, we had to use our glide boost to get to the angle. Too late. We fell off. And then now we're scared of the Genji. But you notice that being scared of the Genji is not Ozo. It's okay. Like, we didn't die. We didn't die. We kind of baited the Genji, but we got a lot of value out of our speed ring. We got a lot of value of our weapon. That was good. Now go back and do it again. Use your double jump. Get back up there. Get back up there. Get back up there. Yeah, there you go. Yes. Sure. Now go back and get that torpedo. Yeah, see, this is the, we have to pull you out of this state right here. Because this is where there's free real estate to be found elsewhere. These targets are full HP. You have 3 cooldowns and you're close to your ult. Your team is fighting right now and you're healing full HP targets. You're even torpedoing full HP targets when right here, this is a massive speed ring value. Massive. So you're not even willing to get close enough to hit the speed ring. And this is massive torpedo value too, right? We must be better. We must be better than this. Ult is fine. Use your torpedoes. Don't forget, it's damage boosted torpedoes. It's really big. And then when you use your ult, remember that your ult has a pretty large range and also lingers. So you can leave your ultimate to take an angle and still get value. I don't like how remember we talked about it. It's like the balance between finding a sightline and an angle and not throwing yourself at the enemy team. That's kind of seems to be the thing that you're struggling with here, is like you have a difficult time thinking of the battlefield outside of this clump. So you being here means that you can actually contribute with a lot lower risk. You being here is scary. You shouldn't be here. But being here is a lot safer. A little bit off the side, better vision, better cover, and also more inconvenient for the enemy team to go for you. Like, you almost got caught in the flux by accident. I don't even know if the signal was aiming for you. You just happened to be there. So that's what angling really is. It's being a little bit off the side, a little bit subtle, a little bit of distance, a little bit of high ground, either whether that's through literal high ground or you using your glide around to get high ground, and just finding sight lines here, right? Good speed ring. I do like how that you're not saving your speed ring when there are teammates to hit with it. That's really good. Good damage. Obviously, nobody needs the healing right now. Now go back to damage. Okay. Decent. Not too bad. Let's take some space here. This is a difficult point here, and as long as you have somebody else on cart, I do not want you on cart. Juno doesn't have the greatest range in the world, so you can't be like Ana or Soldier or something and do decent damage here. You don't really do much of anything. So I want you to think, what is a safe angle for me to be right now? Like, well, I don't know where Genji is. I don't know. Yeah, true. You might have to take some risk. You might have to listen and pay attention to where enemies are. Like, that's going to really influence the angles that you're on. So I think here, first thing I would do is I would double jump to here. I'd walk to here, and then I'd listen. And I'd say, do I want to shoot and heal? Oh, this is way better, right? Well, what if Genji comes for me? Okay, run away. But I want him to come after me. I want to remember the whole purpose of thinking of the Doomfist as the end-all problem rather than, oh, if I can bait Doomfist to come after me and I can live, we can win this fight. That's really what Juno is all about, because the difference between supports and DPS and tanks is that you living can often be more valuable than DPS or supports, because what a support can do is the support can live and then get value elsewhere. Whereas if a Genji dashes after you and doesn't get the kill, well, if he doesn't like this position, for example, he may not get anything else done efficiently, where you can kind of multitask. So you living here, as long as you're baiting attention, can be really good. You need to be involved. At least be involved, right? There you go. Not quite a good enough angle for the torpedoes. Where can you go from here? And this will be my final question before we wrap up this review. Where would you go from here? Where's your sight line? Where's your angle a little bit? Maybe a little bit off of the point. I'd say probably here, maybe. It's not shabby. It's not terrible. You could play even here to start. When you get an opportunity, you could maybe glide boost. If the fight moves up to here, you could move to here. I want to see you being more creative with your position. So that's the number one thing. I want you to be more involved with these fights with your positions. I want you to try to be more involved with how you're using your torpedoes offensively. And then I want to see you making sure that when you get opportunities to try to do some more damage with those positions. I think your ultimates, using them early and often, was really good. I like your speed rings, using them early and often was also really good. Keep up the good work with that. And if you have any specific questions, because I know it's hard with these replay reviews, we're not able to ask questions, just let me know. Let's move on to Butter. Let's see here. Ball and Rhine, Lijiang Tower, and Circuit Royale. Would have preferred all ball, but I think many games seem one-sided. My favorite one game I had ball banned, so I rhined, which I was a fair. Matches time due to ball. Okay. Lijiang Tower loss. I'm sure I could have helped the team differently. Should have gone backline some situations that I felt. Actually, the process should look more evaluated. Maybe the wrong questions. Okay. We'll also look at your form from your email as well in just a moment here. All right, let's take a look at the email really fast here. This is Diamond Tank. What do you hope to get out of the session? I learned so much for your videos. I don't know what to look out for. Be able to focus on learning. What I will learn what would give me the most payoff for my time. I guess it's worth highlighting as well for Audrey that when I'm giving goals, I do encourage people to work on one of these goals one at a time. I discourage people from trying to train all of those things. I think for Audrey and for you, it's going to be very difficult to not think about all the things that I said, but the challenge is going to be, can you really put emphasis on one important thing, like taking the angles or looking for more offensive torpedoes or using the speed ring rollouts from spawn, right? That's going to be the challenge. And the same thing's going to be applying to you as well. Did I play better mechanics? I think I learned fast and average, but maybe not in motor skills mechanics, and I'd like to use that as an edge. Okay. Play a lot of Wrecking Ball or Rhine. Picked up since Hero Band. Seems good. 2 hours per day. I'd like to get better, of course, but I understand with hours, I'll not be as mechanically insane as most people. 2 hours per day is not bad, by the way. Like, that is definitely reasonable to improve rank-wise a little bit more than where you're at, especially if your training quality is high quality. Okay. Foundational understanding is holding me back and not knowing what to look for, like not knowing why we lost, but focus on myself and what I can do better. Yeah, don't worry about why your team lost. And I think you even try to discuss that in your Lijiang code. It's like, should I have gone backline? What was my team should have done? Maybe just focus on how could have I helped the team? Well, how could you have just done more damage and taken less damage? That's the simplest way of looking at it. It's not always the most accurate way of looking at it, but it can be one step in the right direction. My mentality is that if I'm just that good, I should climb the ranks by quote unquote carrying more. And it's not about teammates, as I know there's RNG there. That's true. Not even by carrying more, just by outperforming enemy tank, you allow your team to have a higher chance of winning the fight. I was never an FPS player until Overwatch, and early on I didn't have good instinct cover. I've gotten better about shit first principles. Okay. Sounds like you've been studying up a lot, so with a lot of things I'll talk about, I'm sure you'll be able to reference. Also, nice hair. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Okay, let's take a look at some Lijiang Tower ball. Now, it's funny because I just coached some ball on stream yesterday. It was a professional level ball, but it's the same thing. And the principle is that you have to find the balance between quality of engage and quantity of engage. Now, quality maybe isn't the best term, because when I mean quality, I mean you could technically roll through, slam, and shoot your entire clip until you don't have a bullet left. And that would technically be maximizing the amount of damage that you could do in so many seconds. However, the problem with that is that you may die if you did that. And also, you wouldn't really be doing very efficient HP trades, because even if you don't die, maybe you live with a 200 HP, you'd have to go grab one health pack and then go grab another health pack, and then you're at that point in time, your grapple had already come off cooldown, and your slam would come off of cooldown, and your adaptive shield, and you're still not full HP. So all this time that you've had HP to spend, and cooldowns to spend rather, you've not had the HP to actually do the engage that you want to do. So a lot of what ball is a dance. It's saying, well, I'm going to go in, I'm going to see if they give me attention. If they give me attention, I'm actually just going to leave after my first cooldown or second cooldown and not even stay. And then because I've gone out so quickly, I'm able to preserve much more of my HP, and then I'm going to be able to go back in so much sooner. So a lot of what high-level ball is actually a lot of little small engages that maybe culminate in one big smash. But the question is knowing when that smash is, and also knowing when you're getting attention and when you're not. For example, if you were to roll through here and slam, and the entire enemy team were to literally, completely ignore you, maybe the plan would be to just pull out the guns and just shoot until the cows come home. But if they do look at you, you have to understand that, oh man, like I can do damage, but you can do damage to me. Maybe I should just be taking the time to set up for my next engage. So that's what we're going to be looking up in terms of the cycle of your pressure. In terms of the positioning of your pressure, you basically should always be coming from an off angle. That kind of goes without saying. That way, if there's anybody on the off angle, you can fight them. And if not, it allows for easier vision for big boops, big slams, and even just the element of surprise. It makes things like CC harder to land on you because the enemy team is not naturally looking that way. So I don't mind you leaning towards the left here. And I don't mind this slam either. Now, the question here is the quality versus quantity. Is this going to be worth the damage that you're going to do? And the answer is, I think, very clearly yes. But then do you notice that you didn't keep shooting? Why? Because, well, I can just roll through them and take less damage and do more damage. You miss the opportunity, but the pressure is still there, and that buys you time to reload your clip automatically and then shoot again. So I actually think that the start of this fight was fine. I think we've seen a little bit too much gun here, though. Because what is the ability that you should be using now? Well, slam, right? Remember, it's opportunity cost. It's not just about your health. Sometimes it's if you find yourself shooting too much, you might find yourself going, oh man, I have these abilities. What should I be doing? So let me ask you a question. In the chaos of this fight, what should you be doing right now? Grapple, retract. Up the wall, slam the Weaver. Now you're like, oh, I didn't think of that. Well, that's because you're moving too fast, ironically. In these in-between fights, sometimes it's good to take a little bit of a deep breath and try to think, okay, I have my slam. What should I be doing? And then doing that exactly. Because right now, even this right now doesn't make any sense. Why are we harassing the Reinhardt instead of going for the supports when we had both grapple and slam and adaptive shields, or even forcing point, doing something that leverages your mobility? Why are we playing patty cake with Reinhardt? And I can tell you the answer. You're probably going, oh, I don't know what I'm doing here. I know what you're doing. Your brain is completely off. We've gone from being a very strategical, deliberate, cautious, engaged, focused ball into completely reveling in the complete nonsense chaos. Just doing damage on meaningless targets in a meaningless way. And that's the problem with Wrecking Ball. Because you have so many little engages and so many snap-second decision-making, it's not only a question of mechanics, it's also a question of being able to maintain the focus on doing what's right continually. And right here, this is just a disaster. Because this is, you know what, to be honest with you, this is really great because this is a perfect encapsulation of everything that you've done wrong in the last 15 seconds, which started with a nice grapple slam, nice shots, good attempt at a roll through that was missed, but then you pivoted to the Life Weaver and shot him, which was good. And then from that one moment, everything that followed was completely meaningless because you had all these cooldowns and you just didn't think how to use them. It's not just whether you could use them, but whether you even thought to use them at all. Where's your angle? I don't like this very much. I would always prefer you to come from the side here. You know where they're going to be. They're going to be somewhere here. Always come from the side. Just significantly improves the quality of your engage. It's a rule. It's as close to a rule that I have with Wrecking Ball. Do not come from main unless you have absolutely no other reason to do anything else. It's way too easy to deal with this engage. Let me ask you another question here. So I'm really concerned with what we're doing here, starting with the angle that you're approaching from, is that you've already lost the script. Like your brain is already tuned off and that we're not really thinking about what we're doing. Let me ask you a question. What is a good engage that you could be doing from here? And by engage, I mean, what is the most amount of damage that you could do and take the least amount of damage? What could you do? Okay. You could roll, grapple, swing through, scoop, and slam. That's the old faithful, right? You could have come in from the side, done the exact same thing. You could have grappled on Lion and done spin to win. Probably didn't even think about that, right? But look at the targets clumped up on a central hub. When I see this here, I was surprised that you let go of the grapple. You could have grappled through here, swung back around, hit the life weaver, swung back around, rolled through here, and gone for a wall hop slam. See, this is the thing. Like, even here, why are we using our guns? What do you see instead of using our guns here? Even without the wall hop. Walk up the line and slam from there. But instead, we're shooting. We're shooting, and we're still shooting, even though we have grapple and slam. Good boot. But yeah, instead of shooting the Reinhardt, let's set up our flank. Oh no, we're going back main. Yeah, we have a real problem with approaching from main, which absolutely has to change. Good disengage. This is fine, there's nothing else to do. So 2 things are standing out right now. Your approaches not from an angle, and frankly, it feels like we're kind of just going through the motions of your engages. And so I guess the question is then, how do you actually change that? How do you actually improve that skill? How do you develop the game sense, oh, I hate that term, of what do I do? How do I engage as Wrecking Ball? You ready for this? You just think about it. That's it. You just think about it. You allow yourself to be a little slow, to take a little bit too much damage, maybe not come in from the off angle, but you're thinking, well, what do I do? Like, how about right now? Like, where is this fight going to happen? What can I... You see, you're thinking about it now. No, you're not. What are you doing? Okay, I think... that's the perfect timing right there. I think... Did you forget what spawn you came from? I think you did. But even now, like... Come on now. Like, you look at where they're coming from. What could you do? What could you do? You're going to stand here, let them go through, and then roll through them? Are you going to wrap around behind and try to knock them out? The easiest and most obvious answer, and probably the most consistent thing when they're walking through a choke, is just to do a grapple retract slam. It's just consistently good, and it doesn't cost you your grapple cooldown, so you can slam and then do your grapple afterwards. But the big thing here is, like, what was the plan here, right? Even that, what's the plan here, right? Like, we need to use our cooldowns. We need to play Wrecking Ball, right? We need to use our abilities to knock and slam and boop and damage, right? And right now, it feels like we're kind of just going through the motions. It feels very much like there's a lot of kind of accidental actions here and nothing very purposeful. And really, to be honest with you, whether it's in the wrong spawn, falling off the map, or getting trapped off of our big grapple, it's been comedic how it really feels like slapstick at this point in time. I'm glad that these things are happening because, to be honest, you deserve no less. And this is also what you get for not taking an off angle, right? I mean, that right there, that grapple slam is the first Wrecking Ball thing we've done in probably 40 seconds. Yeah, disengage, disengage, disengage. He's gonna get healing, you're not. Okay. Grab the Mega. Alright. I'm gonna ignore your adaptive shields for a second here. I know it's like, oh, well, I misused my adaptive shield. I guess I didn't need it. No, I messed up. Whatever. You have your cooldowns. What should you do? I mean, this review may just simply be me asking that question over and over and over again. And that goes to show that I really am an honest coach, because if I wanted to impress you with my knowledge, we could sit here and talk about 7 different things. But you know what's going to really provoke change? What's going to make you a better player? What should you do? Scoop and slam? Spin to win? Here's a question. What if I flipped the map and I had you roll all the way towards their spawn and come towards point? What would you do here? You pressure point, right? But what would you do when they walk towards point? Where would you be? Would you try to knock them off a point? Would you spin to win here? Would you retract slam from here? Seriously, I challenge you the rest of this review. I'm going to give you some frequent pausing opportunities. I'm not going to like waste your money by having these long 2 minutes of silence, right? But I would encourage you to insert those 2 minutes of silence into the review yourself by pausing the video and thinking. Not just, oh, what is an engage, but what do I feel like would be a good engage? That was okay. That was okay. It wasn't terrible. Now what? Probably a scoop and slam. Scoop into mines into slam. But probably should have been mines there, no? Something to consider. Remember, your mines are really a complement to your engages. They can complement your slam. They can complement your grapples. They can complement even just your retract alone, right? Something to consider. So this is a decent scoop and slam, but maybe a missed opportunity to use our ultimate. I mean, this is just kind of random things happening right now because we didn't have the time to use our minds. Okay. This perk is good. I actually wonder in this situation with this map and with them running Reinhardt if the tank boop perk might be better. That's a lot of damage onto Reinhardt consistently. That one is a situational perk, as is the health pack perk. I don't think this one's a mistake, just food for thought. Okay. There's one of the rules with mines. There's two rules with mines. You either use mines on valuable space or you use mines on valuable targets, usually. And what I mean by that is in either you put the mines on spots where you know the enemy team is going to want to be or want to hold, or you put the mines on enough people to where even if they all run away, it's really inconvenient for them. The problem with these mines here, which I think you meant to hit Ana with this as well, is that it really only hits Junkrat and only Junkrat. And then it's put a lot accidentally on space that the enemy team really doesn't care about. Like, this Junkrat's going to get pocketed and is going to be absolutely fine, and then your entire ultimate's going to be kind of wasted. And he's going to live. Yeah. This is why when you ask, like, what could I have done more for my team, that can be kind of not a flawed question, but it can be an overcomplicated question, because the answer is not what could you have done for your team, it's what you could have done for your country. No, it's what you could have actually just done to do more damage. That's it. Like, your engages just aren't very good. You just don't do enough damage, and you just don't do enough damage consistently. And why? Well, I don't think your engages are necessarily prepared as much from angles, and I think there's a lot of times where you're willing to use your guns instead of thinking about how to actually use your abilities. Finally, in addition to that, I think that there are some situations where later in engagements, you're basically just pressing cooldowns at random without really giving yourself time to think. Overwatch is not a game that's going to consistently allow you time to think. So the first engage should always be a decent engage, at least an idea, because you do have time to think before the fight starts, right? However, those second and third engages, I will cut you more slack if they're executed poorly, because obviously your brain is thinking a million miles per second. But I would not be okay with you putting no thought into them at all, because even if you're late, even if you screw up the mechanics, I'd at least like to see you try thinking about what would be the optimal way to apply pressure. And right now, there's no real mechanical feedback, major mechanical feedback, because you haven't really been deliberate about anything beyond the first engage at all. It's okay to be slow. It's okay to not even be precise. Like, this one is an attempt that just doesn't work out. But at least there's an idea or a strategy there, right? My concern is that from this point onwards, we're not going to see that same level of decision and strategy as we saw elsewhere. This is just a little bit unlucky. Now, this is where we can actually talk a little bit about mechanics. Okay, so mechanics here. Rollout, I feel like there has to be a faster rollout there in terms of like maintaining fireball for longer, but you know what? It's fine. We get across the bridge. We're too slow to move up to here, and we don't quite get the angle right because you grappled a little bit too far to the right. I think you realize that in hindsight, but that's okay. Not a big deal. This is also one of those situations where I was talking about like the tank booping perk would be great here. Shooting, no shooting. Pointless to shoot in this situation. You take unnecessary damage. He's in hammer range, so you're not going to win this HP trade. So you take about 200 damage, 300 damage unnecessarily. Next time, don't walk into the trap. And that's about all I've got. Don't walk into the trap. Set up your grapple a little bit better. And disengage from Reinhardt. It's actually remarkable that you're going to live this. Okay. Would have preferred you to just stay on this side and heal up, right? Like with this health pack perk, you grab that health pack, you grab this health pack or even this health pack and just fight the Genji, and then this is fine. We're crossing the road for no real reason. This is definitely a why the chicken crossed the road kind of a question, because I don't really know the answer to this. Maybe you're thinking you want to go for Lifeweaver, but using the ability to go all the way across the map for a Lifeweaver who's directly in front of his team doesn't seem to make a lot of sense. You even have to use your adaptive shields. Just fight the Genji there. We'll come from that angle. Even with Wrecking Ball, as fast as you are, if you take an angle or a side of the map, you probably should just kind of make do with that side. Maybe go from here, maybe go from here, If anything, go from here. Don't run right through the middle of the enemy team to cross angles. It's just unnecessary damage, and you feel it there. It feels really bad. Okay. Are you going to keep yourself deliberately focused on what you're doing? Okay. Scoop and slam. Shoot. He's low. Bam. Okay, well. That was hard. Now can we do it again? What would you do here? What should you do here? I think it's a pretty obvious answer here. One of two things. You're either going to grapple retract on the ceiling, which is not going to cost your grapple cooldown. Remember that. That's really good. Or the map point is pretty good for spin to win. Now, this is another one of those situations where that tank booping perk would be really good here. So this is kind of what I was talking about. I think this map is just really good for spin to win, especially with the enemy tank choice, which is really easy to use. But we're going to... Yeah, see, this is why I prefer the grapple retract, because this is costing you a grapple because you're entering fireball. But you're entering fireball and you're not hitting anybody, so it's no point going for this. Just grapple retract, slam, and then you could spin to win afterwards. But you know what? We're actually, like, you know, doing things. So we're using our abilities. Good. Do we spin to win? Yes, we attempt to. Yeah, like, yeah, do you see? Like, do you see? Do you see? Now, obviously, there's a lot of factors besides you that I'm sure are going well. Well, I honestly no. Like, you've done the vast majority of the deadlifting, quote unquote. Here, you just played ball. Like, you hadn't engaged on wrecking ball, which is this Junkrat, which is the literal just scoop and slam and shoot. There was literally nothing special about it at all. Not to take anything away from it, but you just did honest work. Good for you. And then you did it again, and it worked. You didn't even get a lot of damage out of it. But you know what you did? You just distracted and you were a threat and you didn't die. And it's like, wow, we won the fight there. Like, that's what we were missing in the previous round. Okay? You have your abilities again. This is not your job. Where is everybody else? They're crossing the bridge. Make sure they're crossing the bridge with your pressure first. You're devoting so much resource into this Reinhardt when there are other targets that you probably could be distracting. Now, maybe if you really were sure they were in spawn, maybe. But be very careful with that kind of stuff. That he almost got life gripped out. Okay. Let's take a deep breath and let's actually play ball. Every time an American says let's play ball, it just puts me a thrill, you know what I'm saying? That's what I was born for. Hot dogs, trans fats. Okay, okay, this is really unfortunate. This is actually good, though, because I think the intention was, I'm going to assume, to go up to here and then use this space here and use this angle. This would have been really good. This is really unfortunate, actually. Good perk choice. You know what? Actually, this is the first time, comedically, that I'm actually going to cut you some slack. Yeah, we need to really keep an eye out for Junkrat Trap. This one is kind of funny, because I didn't even see it. But you know what? Frankly, this is the first stupid death that I'll be like, you know what? It's all right. It's a little bit unlucky. Sometimes it's just unlucky. Mines here are pretty good. This is clearly space the enemy team wants to be on right now. I don't like the adaptive shields. That feels like a complete autopilot move, and it's really important to get the adaptive shields timing right now. Maybe you saw Ana? I don't know. But yeah, you're not even looking at Ana. Yeah, that's really bad. You cannot do that. That is a parry, essentially. That is forgiving, but it needs to be timed well. So, let's go for a kill. Oh, no, we messed that up. Okay, yeah. Yeah, let's put it this way. I think the intention was there, but the execution was not. So we'll look at a couple of things. I would not slam this. You're slamming nothing. I would not adaptive shield this. You're adaptive shielding nothing. But I do like the mines overall. This is valuable space right now. And it even kills the tree, which is nice. So, yeah, it's just a bad play from you in terms of your cooldowns. A lot of autopilot there. But at least what you did was decent. Yes, yes, yes. Now, ironically here, you adaptive shields and then run away, which is funny, but that's okay. That's a bit of a muscle memory we're gonna have to kind of work with that major perk. Spin to win. No, 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 absolutely not. Not your problem. You must kill these people. Otherwise they will kill you. Spin to win on this, or spin, slam, whatever, deal with the trap. I don't care. This is not your problem. This is a cursed image right now. This is exactly what Reinhardt wants you to do. This Ana is what, 63 HP, and you just walked away from her. That is criminal. Absolutely criminal. You let that Ana, oh my days, you let that Ana get all the healing and the nano off. That is absolutely time up, officer, kind of a thing. You know what I'm saying? Finish her off. spin to win, hit a couple of shots, spin, go for the Junkrat even, roll through this and win anything other than shoot, or anything. If you're gonna shoot the Ryan, shoot him in the back, right? Come from the back angle, right? You are a wrecking ball shooting an armored warrior. It's not bad to shoot Ryan if that's all you can shoot, but you chose to not shoot him. And see, this is why I wanted to clarify what you're talking about in your forum, where I was really concerned about you trying to solve, be a team help. No, stop. You didn't pick Wrecking Ball to break Ryan Shield. So are there situations when you're going to shoot Ryan Shield? I guess if there's nothing else to do, of course. We saw a little bit of that at times in the previous round. But now, criminal opportunity cost. You must think, what is my next engage? What is my next engage? What is my next engage? What is my next angle? What is my next engage? And when you've done that, well, it's worked every time. I mean, it really has worked every time, basically almost single-handedly. When you didn't, or when you screwed it up, it doesn't work well. And so what happens is if you make a mechanical mistake, it's all right. Don't worry about it. It's when you choose to do something that you should never do. Oh my days. I don't like the adaptive shields there. Remember, you're running this version of adaptive shields for very important situations. So if you have to use it, that's okay. But I do encourage you to try to think here, okay, do I need it? Okay, well then I need to be finding that Ana. Again, you have slam, you have grapple. Now maybe here, if anything, shoot and break the Life Weaver pedal, or maybe go to a point and hunt the Ana down, or go kill the Genji or Junkrat or anything. You have abilities here. It's just not enough. Look at all of these resources being thrown into Ryan, and he just holds shield and lives. That's what he does. See, the problem here is that this is fine, but it's too late. You see what I'm saying? I guess it's not too late because something... Wait, what? Okay. Tweedledee and Tweedledum. What are they putting in the Australian water? Yep, stay in the Genji. Do not go for the Rhine. Ow. Oh, look how long it takes you. Oh, he doesn't even die. We have a tank obsession. We got to break that obsession. Perfect shot here, by the way. Just focus on what you can pressure when you have choices. And because you're playing Wrecking Ball, a lot of times you can be very flexible with those choices of things that are other than tank. Doesn't always... I don't have to avoid tank if there are better things available or no better things available, but don't go out of your way here. Okay. Good. Good. We have our abilities. Let's go. Yep. That's okay. It's fine. Adapt the shields and roll away. Yep. Now set up those mines. Good. Doesn't quite get the valuable space rule, but it does hit multiple targets, which is the other part of the rule, remember? So that's going to actually force a mistake. I would definitely go for that Ana. Oh, here. Like, this is the kind of bloodlust that bothers me. You see that Ana less than half, and you actively choose to ignore her, instead spin to win on point, and then get slept by the same Ana. That has to change. Has to change. Maybe this is just a bad game for you. It has to change. Grapple, slam, shoot. 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 Keep shooting. Probably could have kept shooting there. Now spin to win. We don't quite get this shot. Okay, we got her. Go for the Junkrat, please. Yep, buying time for our next grapple. Don't quite hit the slam. That's really unfortunate. Yeah, this is going to come down to just mechanics at this point in time, where you've had many opportunities to kill the Ana faster, to kill the Junkrat faster, and so on. And if you don't do that, you create opportunities for bad luck to kick in. And I think that's kind of what's happening here. We didn't quite hit the grapples. I think a lot of it is because you're grappling too high. It's almost as if you're trying to stall point without trying to do damage, you know? And then here, you go for the grapple retract, but because you go for the grapple retract so far away, you actually build a fireball as you're retracting. So then when you slam, you no longer have your grapple again. It's these nuances that are basically impossible to track in the middle of a firefight, which is why I'm so obsessive about when it's not a firefight, you allow yourself the time to take it, slow it down, and decide what to do next. So in terms of feedback here, we'll focus on two things here. Wait, before we get a 5K. This is a good use of the high grapple, by the way. That's perfect. Because do you see how much longer that allows you to stall? That was really good. But you can actually live this here. I would just run away. I mean, I was going to say, if your team can't touch, you're dying for the touch is meaningless. Okay, feedback time. Number one, start on angle, start on angle, start on angle, start on angles. Come from the left, come from the right, come from behind. Do not run right down the middle of the enemy team if you have at any sort of staging ground around the map. Number two, please, please, please do not just plan your first engage. Now we can critique, I think you're not using your retract enough. You could be more creative with that. That's probably my first strategical side of things, like how to actually use the micro correctly. But globally, you simply must do a better job planning your second and third and fourth, and honestly, sometimes even your first engages. What am I going to do with my abilities given the situation? Now, the good news is that you don't have to factor in all 3 trillion variables. What are they running? What cooldowns do they have? What map is this? The biggest variables I think that you need to think about are what is the map giving to me? I really think that's the simplest way of looking at it. I was talking about this on stream yesterday. Even pro players, a lot of times just really pay attention to like what are some good rollouts that the map does. Like for example, the boop off the bridge, the grapple retract on points, spending to win on this particular segment, right? Those, what the map gives you can really help influence what you're allowed to do. But even if you're not able to do that consistently, you need to start developing that skill now. And that's done by simply slowing it down, forcing yourself to take a step back, not shooting infinitely and throwing your sand to the wind, but actually thinking, how can I actually do something here? So stop shooting on targets that are not at a significant portion of HP where you could kill them, and instead think about how can I be setting up my next cooldown engage. Third and final thing, and this one's much more micro, it's going to be really be careful about where you're putting attention to. Maybe you thought that the Rhine was quote unquote the main problem here, but the reason the Rhine is the main problem is the guy's been getting infinite support because his backline is playing versus a powder puff ball, right? You're not actually threatening to that backline significantly enough, so he's getting so many resources. You cut off those resources, you win fights. That's what was happening. That didn't happen near enough. So if that's something that's consistently a problem with you where you're trying to identify the quote-unquote carry and then trying to deal with that carry, that's the mistake. Do what you do best and trust your team to deal with the process. I guess one other thing would be the mines, right? Just make sure that you're either mining multiple targets or mining valuable space. That could be point, that could be a high ground that the enemy team is on, etc. If you have any questions, as always, I know these replay reviews can be difficult because there's a lot of questions that may come up. Please let me know. It was a pleasure. Good luck to both you and Audrey, and I will chat with you guys later.